G'day members, welcome to our edition of the early edition of Moonee Valley for tomorrow on the 5th of September. It's the Dardo Tanchim Nam, and obviously we're seeing a few nice horses resuming that race. There's also a fair few plotters in it. I'm not too sure at this stage that it's a race we would want to be going too hard in. But certainly, if the track's playing pretty even and fair, and they can win, sort of from everywhere. Big Memory's a horse that is probably in that race at odds that we might have a little bet on. But there's a few races that look like they're probably going to be pretty good races to steer clear from, and not go too hard. And there's a few other races where we will be able to certainly have a crack and do our best to be winning. We've been punting pretty well. We've had a profit run of around 45 units since we changed our strategy, and it probably, with a little bit of luck, should have been a lot more. We've had a couple of really big results just go begging, just to not a lot of luck in run. So I'm pretty happy with how it's all going, and we'll just again try and limit our exposure to around that 10 unit mark, which is around 5% of our capital. And if we go a bit over, that's okay. But as I've mentioned in the past, that means, if we can find one good value winner, we're only going to lose a little bit. And if we can get a couple of winners, we're ahead. And if we can get more than that, it's a good day. So we'll just start with race one. And look, it's not really a great race. Just sort of when I was doing the figures, they're very low rating horses, and I mean that they can surprise us, but at this stage I really wouldn't expect anything out of this race to go on and be doing much at this stage of their campaigns. It looks like Voldemort would probably come across from out wide, and he's been racing pretty well despite the fact that he's a maiden. He comes into the race with the best speed figure. I thought that he was a good improver last start, and I'd expected he'd run well. Del Piero's going okay. He's sort of, they're pretty much equal on top, those two. And then we go down to Euston Road, who, look, he ran pretty well in winning last start at Geelong. It was it was a pretty good run. It's a little bit hard at times with some of these horses coming through Geelong just to sort of tell how good the run was. They can sort of get bottled up and whatnot. It's not an easy track to win at when you have a little bit of an issue early. So, how much we tack onto that for a couple of things in the run, I'm not sure. But it's a race that at this stage, we're probably going to be pretty happy to avoid. And if we were to play it, it might just be a little bit of a bet on the top raider. On to the second race, and such is the theme of the day. As you can see, we've got Moss Beat, one class, one speed, one jockey, and really, there's not a lot between a lot of the trainers on the figures, but certainly, as I showed the other night, when you run the rankings, it does have a big impact. So, I can't just declare this horse, but geez, it's pretty close. The horse was sensational last week, chasing hard off a solid pace, finishing not far off of Set Square, a Group 1 winner who was coming out of some very strong form races last prep. I thought Moss Beat was sensational, and she's been just ticking over and ticking over. She isn't a horse that wins a lot. She's only won once, but she does have a 56% place strike rate, and I think that it really looks good for her tomorrow. She rated through the roof on the speed figures, and such was the strength of that race that open back to an 84 here is a very good recipe. She gets in on the minimum, and she just needs to handle the 7-day backup and really not run into any problems from barrier 2. So they're the only little queries, but certainly on facts and figures, she rates really well. So we've notified early that the bet there is a unit to win and 3 units to place, and we'll probably look to maybe have a saver on our second rated there, Let Me Down Gently. So we'll probably be in the position where it'll be 5 units out on the race, but such is the structure of our betting bank now, with the fact that it is a recommended 200 unit bank. That's 2.5% out of our overall capital. And as I said the other week, it's an option that we do have now to sort of bet up like that, although it's not recommended that we'll be doing it all the time, or it defeats the purpose. When we do see a good betting opportunity, it does give us the ability to certainly spread our wings a little bit more, and that means if Let Me Down Gently does get up, we're in line for a double collect as well. So I think that it's a nice race for us to play. Let Me Down Gently can come over and lead. Moss Beach should get a good run. It's just hopefully we don't get stuck on the fence. And the next 3 in line, they've all got not really great draws for how they're going to be running tomorrow. That being Spirit of Heaven, Magnus Slipper, and Her Story. So pretty keen to play on 2 and 15 here, and maybe even throw in a little Quinella, which will probably be decent value. So let's have a look how we go tomorrow, but certainly race 2's a really good race of interest for us. On to the third, and the figures, again, are very strong on 2 horses here, Strong Hand and Lever Action. Again, we don't have 100% correlation in the KPIs. Unfortunately, Weir's gone for, a claim with Jordan Childs. As we saw last week with Chant Harmony, it doesn't mean they can't win. It just means that there's an opportunity that more can go wrong with an inexperienced rider. So, look, obviously, if we had an Oliver or a Williams or a Lane or someone that ranked highly, we'd be pretty much declaring this horse. It's hard to line him up, when I first looked at him, because he's obviously had 6 starts now, and it's his first campaign. But look, on my figures, his run last start was his best effort. It was a peak performance, and interestingly, it was his 6th race start, but it was basically with a month between runs. So we know we can keep them going, and for that reason, I'm happy to turn a blind eye to where he sort of sits in regards to his spell count. And if he's able to come out, and the fact being he did have a month between runs, sort of lends me to believe that he could easily come out and probably do what he did at Moonee Valley last start, run to that level again. And I certainly think that if he can run to that level again, he should be able to win. And Lever Action's the other one. He's also had a good run last start. He's got a win here at Moonee Valley over a mile over Arctic Song. It was at a night meeting last spring, and it was a strong run. He ran 10 lengths above the average. He ran to a speed figure of 112, which is about what he did last start. He went a little bit better last start when he beat Strong Hand. And the rail was out 4 metres last start, but when he won last time at Moonee Valley, which was his last win, the rail was in the true. So, I'd sort of think that, this horse is going to get his chance tomorrow, and certainly is a horse that has shown a good ability to rate highly deep into his prep. So, he'll probably scoot across, and again, we're relying on an apprentice here, but we'll see how we go. And, there's probably going to be a little bit of movement outside of those 2 with a few others, but, such was the strength of the performance of those horses last start. The figures certainly elevate them up the top of our markets here. and there's a few horses that you know are first up or not really deep into their preps, and you know they're going to have to really show significant improvement to bridge the gap between what Strong Hand and Lever Action were able to produce last start. In particular with how fast they run and the overall speed figure in the race. So I think a few horses could get busted up here, and it's probably a race where there isn't really a horse, you know, resuming that didn't run last time. It's got massive class. So, you know, we probably have to lean the way of the fitter horses here. But again, just a couple of little queries. We'd really love to see some top jockeys on there, but that's not the case. However, you know, still pretty happy to play. So race 3 looks a good betting race. On to the 4th, and the United States was a strong winner last start. He was aided by what was quite a slow tempo. It was a walk early, and he obviously was able to produce a very big sprint home. The horse had also performed well in the past at Moonee Valley. On that other occasion, he was unable to win, but he came off another very slow speed and stormed home for a big win. So the little query with this horse is we've seen him once under real race pressure, and that was at Flemington at his Australian debut, and he was beaten 4 lengths in historically what wasn't a bad race at that time. Coonamoo, Sistine Demon, they were running pretty well, but certainly it's pretty hard to sort of knock that horse. Looks like they've backed him. There's been good money for him. He continues to firm. He's unders at the moment. He's not really a horse I'm keen to charge into either. So we'll monitor him. Prince Cherie's the class runner. Obviously, some pretty good first up runs. In particular, 2 campaigns ago, it came off of 2 trials, which it's coming off of this time round, and resumed at a mile. It was a Group 1 race on that occasion, and it was only beaten 3.4 lengths by Boban, and basically It's a Done Deal was second in that race. So to sort of finish 3.5 lengths off of Boban when he was flying, and a couple of lengths off of It's a Done Deal, it really it's very strong. It's a standout on class, this horse. I thought that its most recent trial was okay. It comes through the Arabian Gold and Contributor run, and it really, yeah, that if it got anywhere near that big class figure, it would win. But the query is it at that level? And it also has to get around Moonee Valley. So look, they've put Oliver on, and there's certainly a lot to like about this horse. Had he had a run and resume really well, he'd probably be half the price, but it's just the little unknown. Look, on Picalo's going racing well, but he went 1700, 7-day back up to 1600 and beat Iggy McCall, and then he went 1700 last week, and he's on a 7-day back up again. So, you know, he's sort of managed to get his class figure up around 90, and that's probably not going to cut it here. Certainly he's got the fitness, and he's been able to show good speed in some of his runs, but just whether he'll be able to perform at that level again, I'm not sure. And I thought Streets Away was probably the big value here. He's a horse that I think can really go well 4th up. His sectionals last start were quite good off of a slow speed, and you know he's got some pretty big runs scattered through his form chart. Just whether he needs another run, I'm not sure. And maybe he is just half a run short, and that's why they've got the apprentice on. Maybe we need to look for a key jockey change for him, so we sort of know that he's primed. But aside from trying to overanalyze why a jockey's on it or not, his figures really do stack up, and 4th up here, I'd certainly expect the horse to put in his best run of the prep, and I think there's certainly a few at least 3 lengths improvement up his sleeve. So he really could figure this horse streets away. And currently he's just looking at the bookies, he's around $18. So he could be a little each wayer for us in a race that we're not overly keen on. But no rush here. We'll just monitor. On to the 5th, and look, pretty keen here on Don't Doubt Marley. I thought his run, his or hers, I'm not sure, but it was a great run last start. It was back in the race behind Petite Falou, and it made a big sweeping run, 4-5 wide for a long way around the turn there at Caulfield. And the horse produced the second quickest last 800 of the day. And it was, overall a really strong performance, and hit the line hard coming with Jalan. And, it was 52 days between runs. So, it was entitled to just drop off a little bit over the last 200 where Jalan just sort of pulled away a little bit. And it is worth noting Jalan was favourite for the 1,000 guineas. So I think the market's got this wrong. They're sort of levitating towards the higher rated horses from their 2-year-old campaigns, when there's this Petite Falou and Jalan is in my database. They're two of the highest rating 3-year-old fillies going around. So if you get a chance to watch the replay of Don't Doubt Marley, it was a very big run. And the other factor was, I think that it was 52 days between runs. So, despite the fact that it's first prep, it looks like they really eased up on it after the sale run. And if they could squeeze a couple of lengths out of it, it maps really well when a lot don't. And it's got that run under its belt, and it just looks primed. So I'm pretty keen that it's gonna go pretty well here, this horse. But in saying that, there are a lot of resumers, and generally these aren't the types of races we want to get too carried away with, as there's some unknowns. But Pasadena Girls drawn 12. It's not great for that horse. Jamaica's drawn 13. It's not great. Stay With Me 14. So they're going to need a lot of luck. And Don't Doubt Marley's had that hard conditioning run, maps perfectly, running fast sectionals, and comes through a really solid race. So pretty keen on it. I thought Sweet Redemption trialled well. Blinkers go on. You'd think that the stable know that the blinkers could probably sharpen it up a bit. And if we sort of track her form back, it reads pretty well some subsequent form. So I think that that's going to be a nice little race for us, and there's some value there. But again, there'll be a bit of movement in the prices with some of these, and we'll just play it by ear. But that's roughly where we sit. Onto the 6. Look, Fell Swoop's on top. It's what it's got going for it is it's got the quickest speed rating, but it's not by much. It's marginal, and Oliver's on. It also looks to map pretty well. So there's a lot to like about it. It's coming out of restricted races in Sydney, and certainly does look to have a bit of upside. Maybe not as much upside as what the market thinks at this stage. We'll have to sort of see what happens with a bit of intelligence that comes through. But there's no doubting the horse is flying and should run really well. Grionte's a runner of interest, third up last campaign. She was beaten 1.9 lengths in a Group 1 at Moonee Valley. She beat home horses like Rebel Dane. She beat home Bezelay. Was only a couple of lengths off of Lucky Hustler. So, it wasn't the strongest Group 1, but certainly her class produced through that race is a standout for this. And I thought that she ran really well first up. And look, last week she was just caught 4 wide in a muddling race, and a race where that they really didn't go too hard. I think her run last start was pretty good, and I'd expect that she's going to be primed to peak here. If she ran anywhere near that the figure that she did third up last prep on class, she's going to be a pretty comfortable winner. The little question mark is, can Arnold sort of get her into the right spot from a tricky gate. And then I thought Just Magical and Fast Cash were going pretty well. Just Magical ran really well last start behind Le Bon Sir, and Fast Cash comes through the same race. He was beaten a long way, but he sort of got back and hit the line quite hard. I thought his sectionals were good, and I'd expect out to 1200 he's going to be able to settle and finish off a lot better. And I think we can see a significant improvement from Fast Cash. And we've just got to, pay a bit of respect to Chivalry and Galaxy Pegasus, a couple of horses resuming that both have shown an ability to sprint well fresh. So it's not an easy race there. We don't want to dive into anything or back anything there yet. As you can see from the rankings, there's not really any standout, so it's just going to come down to pattern and mapping on the day, and we'll see how it goes. On to the 7th, and I previewed this race earlier. Look, Contributor, he's the class horse. There's little doubt about that. He is a horse that, looking at his historical figures, has been able to produce high rating runs off of races with little tempo. So, excuse me, the query is, when the cleaner busts him up, can he find? And, it just doesn't appear to be a horse that at this stage should be $1.70. Now, that's just on my figures. I guess if you really liked him, you could certainly try and find ways to make him $1.70 or $1.80. But we know the cleaner can break the heart of the best of them, and he's had a run under his belt, and he flies around Moonee Valley. Callow's not going to muck around. He's going to jump and run, and they're all going to be under the pump. So it's going to be an almighty. If the cleaner goes 10 lengths above the average early, it's going to be an almighty effort for Contributor to win, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the race. And I think that Mourinho was really good first up. He returned in good order with a great win. We know what we get with him. He loves a mile. He loves Moonee Valley. He always gives his all. He's going to be around the mark, and Big Memory is going to be the big improver. The little issue with him is barrier 1. If he has to encounter trying to get around the cleaner if something happens, or Kenja Wood, who will probably go forward also. Whether or not he gets held up and just loses a bit of momentum around the turn. That's the query. But they've got Oliver on, and certainly his run first up was huge, and he's got very, very big speed ratings at a mile. So we could possibly entertain a little nibble on him, but we'll just see how we go there. So again, another race that we're not too keen to rush into. We'll just wait and see. This is a very difficult race. Look, Chautauqua resumes here at 1,000. We don't really have a lot to go off with this horse at 1,000. Certainly his best runs have been pretty much at 1,200 metres. He was a good winner first up last campaign. He just got over the top of Lamberge, who he meets here. And I think it's pretty fair to say that last campaign, the horse probably raced between 3 to 4 lengths below what he was his preparation prior, which was the last spring. And certainly he all of those runs were at Flemington down the straight. So he has shown he can get around the turns, but if he returns at the level that he was at last campaign, he could have his challenge. The way the race is run, he's going to really need to be at his best. Certainly, if the horse was able to return to the form that he produced 2 campaigns ago, then you could probably back him with a lot of confidence here, because it's 4 or 5 lengths better than anything else. But I don't think that it's a wise decision to rate him on that Flemington form heading here. I'm not quite sure what to think of the race. And there's certainly a couple of up-and-comers that would need to improve a lot. But look, we certainly wouldn't be surprised to see Chautauqua come out and win here. But at the same time, we wouldn't be surprised to see him come out and run into issues. So, it's probably not a race that we're really interested in going crazy on. Flamberge is a horse that goes quite well fresh. There's been a little bit of money for him early in the week. $8 was probably a good price to have a little nibble at him each way, but that seems to be history now. So, I guess if we take a look, around $1.90 the place and whatnot at this stage across the board, it's not really too enticing. So, we might just be sitting and watching this race. And on to the last, and this is certainly not an easy race. We were lucky enough to get a nice protest decision with Shenzhou Steeds, and he rates well again here. Young Mitchell Friedman certainly appears to have this horse going really well, and there's probably still another length or two in this horse. Oliver jumps on board, which is a good sign. He's got a tricky gait. Albonetti ran on well last start. Still might be half a run short, but certainly, looks getting out to this trip from barrier 5 like it can, really catch some breaks. But, with all due respect to Michael Carson, would probably much prefer to see a higher rated jockey go on. So that's a little bit of a concern there. And then, Almond Tick went well enough last start. The overall speed figure was soft, but I've put an adjustment in there. It was a good class rating. And then we've got Voodoo Prince, Diametric, it's a him. They sort of all raced against the last time. There's not a lot between them. Lord Girone and even Digitalism, who I think he's pretty short in the market, Digitalism. And John Sadler has been doing a good job with getting these horses back up again, but he's sort of one I'm happy to work around. So I think he's certainly probably a pretty good dodge tomorrow and may drift. So that's a hard race. Again, we'll just wait and see. So looks like we got some good action early on, and throughout the rest of the day, we'll just monitor for value. And I think that, we'll take a similar approach. And if we're going to get involved in the races, it's either going to be on our top raters that we know have such a good record, or something small each way that appears big overs. So thanks for listening. All the best. And if you've got any questions about any of tomorrow's selections or races, please jump on the live chat, and we'll answer your questions there. Otherwise, enjoy your evening, and we'll catch you tomorrow. So thanks for listening. All the best, and we'll see you then.